Welcome back to the Fully Nourished podcast. I'm so happy that you're joining me here today as we continue to explore our current Bible study series, What is it like to be married to me? Today we're going to be reviewing week 6 and 7 homework and the chapter titled, What is it like to make love with me? While we're not going to get too into the weeds today, if you are listening around some younger listeners, it may be a great day to throw on your AirPods or to choose a time to enjoy the podcast when you're alone in the car or take the pod on a walk with you. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this week reading and the 2 weeks of homework was a lot. And I think it was a really personal journey. Of all of the chapters of this book, this one is naturally the most personal, right? I sincerely hope, though, that you did take the time to read through the content, to work through the homework, and to lean into the awkward discomfort. And the uncomfortability is where growth occurs. It's where healing happens, and it's where we begin to find lasting change. I took a lot away from this chapter, and I believe that each of us is going to learn different things from this content over the last 2 weeks. Undoubtedly, each of us will have a different and unique experience from these last 2 weeks because each of us has a different personal history, and each of us has had a different intimacy journey with our spouse, and I'm confident that's going to look different from person to person. I want to begin today with a review of a quote from Les and Leslie Parrott's book, Skimming the Surface, and this is on page 115 of our reading. Couples who frequently pray together are twice as likely as those who pray together less often to describe their marriages as being highly romantic. But get this, married couples who pray together are 90% more likely to report higher satisfaction in their sex lives than couples who don't pray together. Prayer, because of the vulnerability it demands, also draws a couple closer. Now, I love this quote for so many reasons. One, I have been trying to make a practice of this in our home, but it is very awkward. Praying together out loud is incredibly uncomfortable. And why? Because of the vulnerability that it demands, right? If you've been listening to the pod for very long, you have likely heard me say several times, vulnerability precedes connection. Every time. This is true in all relationships. Our marriages are no exception. Our prayer life and our sex life are no exception. In the chapter, What is it like to make love with me? Linda focuses on 5 separate insights. 1, how did we get where we are? 2, open the gift of sexual passion. 3, open the gift of God's blessing. 4, offer the gift of your body. 5, what does everyday lovemaking look like? Getting us rolling with insight number 1, how did we get where we are? Linda shares that she has interviewed thousands of wives, many noting confusion or frustration, included but not limiting to the following topics. 1, being afraid of sexual intimacy. Number 2, feeling disappointed in sexual intimacy. Number 3, being hindered by guilt over wrong choices. Number 4, confusion over what a godly and sensual wife looks like. And number 5, just being ready to forget the whole thing. And Linda continues the chapter sharing 3 intimacy robbers that can lead couples to feel pressure about sex. Satan, the media, and the church. So we'll unpack those just a little bit. So most notably, Satan, he tells us lies, right? There's no surprise here, folks. He tells us lies all the time. Why would it be any different with sex? He tells us that we can't be godly if we are to be abandoned and intoxicated by our husband's caress, and that God expects us to be prim and proper in the bedroom. All lies. These lies are not true, and there is biblical evidence to support that God honors and celebrates our intimacy and our love life. Number 2, the media. No surprise here, right? You don't have to look very far to see corruption in values and expectation in the media. The media overemphasizes sex. Nothing is private. The message here is likely sex anytime, anywhere, with anyone. And it's our responsibility to remember that that's the media's job. They're there to promote fantasy and an escape from reality. It does not depict what our lives should really look like. Our real love life can provide significantly better pleasure and intimacy than any manufactured fantasy, if we give it a chance and we don't cling to the visual that our sex life is going to look like a movie scene. Keep in mind that these are choreographed scenes perfected over many, many takes to get the specific effect that a director of a movie wants to portray, and this is very, very far from reality, and it is very, very dangerous to our marriages. And the last one is the church. Was anybody surprised by this one? On page 120, Linda cites several examples throughout history that while disguised as noble words, the church's hope to stifle immorality and inappropriate sex instead stifled beautiful and appropriate sex in marriage as well. Over centuries, the church adopted incorrect sexual mindset without even realizing it. So how do we exchange these harmful attitudes for God's true word, an attitude proclaiming that we are to enjoy beautiful, free, abandoned delight in our husbands? Well, we need to look into God's word, where all of the truth lies, and get his viewpoint. Girls, we need to open our Bibles. In insight number 2, open the gift of sexual passion. Well, if no one's uncomfortable yet, we're going to get a chance right now. Buckle up, ladies, because this is going to get steamy. God chose to give us the gift of sexual passion. He has deemed that it's holy, pure, and exciting, and that we are to enjoy intoxicating sex within our marriages. He created intimate oneness and pleasure to be shared and to deepen our connection to our husband. In our reading, Linda explores Ephesians 5:31-32, and a description of a man leaving his mother and father and cleaving to his wife, and the two become one flesh. This is referencing the act of sexual intercourse to become one in marriage. God is for pleasure. Further explored in Proverbs 5:15-19, and certainly explored in Songs of Solomon, God provides permission for us to be a continual fountain of pleasure for our husbands. As Linda notes, the Songs of Solomon passage does not leave much to the imagination. It is erotic, it is sensual, and my sweet friends, it is biblical. It proves beyond the shadow of a doubt that God delights and encourages a husband and a wife to have a plentiful and healthy sexual intimacy. He has created it for us. He has approved it. And even more, he's made it holy. He gave us the gift of sexual passion, which leads us right into insight number 4, offering the gift of your body. One way that a wife ministers to her husband is to delight him in the bedroom. The Apostle Paul discusses marriage in 1 Corinthians 7, dealing with sexual needs. And here is the Message translation from our reading on page 132. The marriage bed must be a place of mutuality. The husband seeks to satisfy his wife, the wife seeking to satisfy her husband. Marriage is not a place to stand up for your rights. Marriage is a decision to serve one another, whether in bed or out. Isn't that so beautiful? I love that. A marriage is a decision to serve each other, whether in bed or out. So you might be asking the same question as me. Well, Linda, what does it look like for me to give my body to my husband? And to my surprise, she answered this. She notes on page 133, if you see your body as, quote, mine, you decide when, where, and how much you'll give your husband sexually. But if you give your body as a gift to your husband, you will want him to enjoy the gift. It is his, a gift for him to delight in. She notes that this choice changes everything. And what it really made me think about is the moments of being willing to be spontaneous and free and fun, and to not use sexual intimacy as a weapon or to be the, quote, gatekeeper, but to really choose to view sex as a gift and to enjoy it, to lose ourselves in it, and to grow together because of that, and to trust that we are in a safe space. The final insight, number 5, what does everyday lovemaking look like? Linda encourages us right out of the gate here that not every day through every season is sex going to be wonderful. And that was reassuring, right? So we just can't set that as our expectation. She inserts a personal story here of a time when her husband went above and beyond to make a special, quote, prescription for her, and he wrote out 52 sexual surprises for her, one for every week of the year. He actually wrote out these surprises and rolled them up ever so tightly so they would actually fit in an empty pill capsule. Come on, that is insane. He did this 52 times. And Linda freely admits that she still would not remember to, quote, take her pill. It was a busy season in their lives, having 3 children in the course of 3 years. She notes very freely that it is no wonder that her husband was quite disappointed, that his thoughtful gift was somewhat dismissed. And Linda humbly admits that she could have handled this better. And she notes that we also will find ourselves in situations that we could have handled better as well. I can relate to this, and it hurts my heart to admit that, but I'm guessing you may have memories that come up here for you as well. This chapter, in a nutshell, provides us evidence that lovemaking should include laughter and fun and teasing and joy and variety. God gave us sex for pleasure, and pleasure is good. It is not wrong or ungodly to delight in each other's bodies within the fabric of our marriage. Okay, friends, this will go on record as being the most awkward episode to date of the podcast, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too upset to see this one behind me, but coming up on the pod, we are back to connecting once a week. Next week, August 12th, we will meet for the review of Week 8 homework, and for the chapter, Why Do I Want to Stay Mad at You? Monday, August 19th, we will connect to review Week 9 homework for the chapter, Is It Possible to Grow Together When Things Fall Apart? And the big finale on Monday, August 26th, we will review Week 10 homework for the final chapter of the book, the caboose for the series, The Woman in the Mirror. Until we meet again, friends, I pray that you are boldly choosing to do what you can with what you have from where you are to ensure that your marriage is fully nourished. I look forward to connecting with you next week. Take care.